Hi there. I'm Michael Dembrow, state representative for this district, District 45. And first of all, I just want to thank the Rose City Park Neighborhood Association for once again, bringing candidates, advocates, neighbors together to explore the issues of the day. It's one of the very few neighborhood associations that does this, and it's really, really important. I came before you 2 years ago. It's hard to believe, it's 2 years. In a lot of ways, I'm the same person I was then. I'm still teaching at PCC. In fact, I'm in the middle of class right now, believe it or not. I have to run here, and then after I'm going to have to go back. But I'm still trying to juggle these two jobs because one of the things that I've really learned from being in the legislature is how close my experience working with students at PCC, how much it has prepared me for this work. I still live on Northeast 25th. I'm still married. That's probably the biggest miracle. 37 years now. I have 2 dogs, 2 kids, 2 grandkids. The 2 grandkids live too far away. They're in Texas. But all that is pretty much as it was. But the last 2 years has been quite the experience. It's been, the most challenging thing I think that I've done in my life. Remember that I entered this job just as the economy was falling apart and the budget was falling apart. We found ourselves facing a $4 billion, with a B, $4 billion shortfall. And the very first thing that we had to do was to balance that last biennium's budget. And there were people who were talking about cutting the school year by 10 days and just doing terrible things just to get through the year. But we were able to, by looking at the cuts in a very principled way, we were able to do, I think, a very prudent combination of cuts, tax increases, which ultimately the voters confirmed, and using the reserves. And we were able to do that. We still had to cut $2 billion from the budget. That's by far more than any legislature has ever had to do. A lot of public employees had to take pay cuts. They had to take furlough days, which were in effect pay cuts. They stepped up to the plate. Some very important services did not get continued. However, I think we were able to protect the most vulnerable and to really act in a responsible way. Despite all of those, the shadow of the shortfall, we were also able to accomplish some really important things. You'll remember there was this huge need 2 years ago we talked about to get all kids covered with health insurance. And we were able to do that. We passed the Healthy Kids Act, which has every child in the state now will have access to affordable insurance. We knew that we needed to do something about health insurance and health care delivery in general here in the state. It's too expensive, the costs keep rising. We need to find a better way to deliver health care. And so we passed a big health care reform bill that is already beginning to make some significant changes that will drive down the cost, including, and we'll be voting on that this next session, a public option plan so that we can have a lower cost alternative while we're insuring a larger group of people. That was a huge thing. You might remember that I talked last time about the need to make our income taxes more progressive. It just doesn't seem right that people who are earning $8,000 a year are paying the same tax rate as those who are paying $800,000 a year. And the same thing goes for business, that small businesses on Main Street paying their corporate income taxes at the same rate as the Nikes and the Intels. And so we passed legislation that added some more progressivity to the income tax code, and we did away with the corporate minimum, which for far too long has been only $10. Both of those decisions, I pledged to myself I was going to do it in a way that would be supported by the people in my district. And I'm happy to say that it was, because you all confirmed the ballot measures 66 and 67 by nearly 4-to-1 vote. 75, somewhere between 75 and 80% of you voted yes on those ballot measures, and thank heavens you did. We also, I talked to you 2 years ago about the need to do something about tax breaks, tax credits, which are just growing and growing and growing with every session, and it's almost impossible to get rid of a tax credit once it's been created. Fortunately, we were able to pass a law that sunsets every tax credit, so that within a 6-year cycle, every tax credit will come before us, and we will get to decide, is this still doing what it set out to do? They said they were going to use this credit to create good family wage jobs. Did they? Is it working? If so, we'll extend it. If not, we'll reject it. That is going to be really huge for us to keep this state solvent. Despite overwhelming opposition from Republican legislators, we created tough new consumer protection laws to prevent the banking and mortgage industries from doing the same thing that they did 2 to 3 years ago that got us into this mess. That was a real challenge, but we were able to pass some good legislation for Oregon. We were also able to create private sector jobs through a change in the highway fund. We were able to increase the gas tax, to have money to put into road projects all over the state, and to fund a program called Go Oregon, and others that have kept people who otherwise would have been unemployed, kept them employed. You know, speaking about the budget, I know you may have heard some people say that, in fact, our budget increased over this last biennium. But I want you to know that that's false. The general fund is lower now than it was in the last biennium by a lot. Where the state budget has gone up has been in that area where we have federal dollars that come into the budget to be passed on to Oregonians. Things like unemployment insurance, or food stamps, or the stimulus dollars that have kept so many teachers and healthcare workers from losing their jobs and being able to keep their employment up. That was all federal dollars that came into the budget. So if you include those, yes, the budget went up because the federal dollars went up. How many of you think we should have said no to the unemployment money? How many of you think we should have said no to the Medicaid money? How about the food stamps? No, those, thank heavens that federal money came into Oregon, because it has really kept us solvent. One other promise that I made to you 2 years ago was that I would be accessible to you all, and that I would be transparent in everything that I did, and would communicate to you to the best of my ability. And I think that I have been able to do that. How many of you here are on my electronic newsletter? Get on it. I have copies there in the back. Pick it up. It tells you how to do it. It'll really keep you in the middle of things. Every month I have a constituent coffee. I'd love you to come in and share your ideas. We have great conversations with people whose ideas are all over the place, and they're great conversations. Many people last session came down to Salem and met with me, including my opponent, Anne Marie. And it really helps me to do the legislation, to do the work of the legislature, which is to be your representative. You know, at the end of this session, the Willamette Week did a rating of all the legislators. And it's actually not done by the Willamette Week themselves. It's done by people who work down in Salem as staffers or advocates or lobbyists, Republicans, Democrats, people all over the political spectrum. And you know, they rate the different legislators. And I'm happy to say that their rating for me in my first term was I was among the most effective freshmen. You know, freshmen aren't that effective because we don't get to chair committees. I was among the most intelligent, and I don't know if that's true, but you needed to be intelligent with what we were facing the last session. But what really meant a lot to me was I was rated the highest of any legislator for what they called integrity. And that really means a lot to me because that's what I have always been committed to doing, is to be your representative, not the representative of you know, lobbyists or just thinking about my own political career. What we need, if we're going to restore faith in government, is we need legislators who are open, who are communicative, and who have integrity. And I promise you that if I'm reelected, and I hope that you will vote for me, that's what you will get again, except that I'll be even more effective. Thank you.